Good morning, good morning, good morning. This is the day the Lord has made, and we're here to rejoice and be glad in it. Welcome to Hope TV. I'm so excited to have you here with us. I'm Edward Smith. I'm Hope Dealer here and executive producer of Hope TV. And I'm just, listen, thankful that you've chosen to spend a portion of your Friday morning with us here at the Hope TV. We're Hope Dealers, and our aim is to provide you with daily doses of hope and as we present entertaining faith. And so we are platform. We are a network that provides inspirational content that speaks to the whole person, whether it be spiritual, physical, emotional, mental, political, social. We're concerned with the whole variety and the inclusive in terms of our content creation. So I'm excited that you're here with us, and I appreciate you. We stream our programs and our shows to about 15 different platforms, and we're excited about that. And so those of you who are here with us, who have been with us before, welcome back. Honored to have you here with us. Those who are regular supporters, we appreciate you. Those who are here today for the very first time, welcome to Hope TV, and we're glad to have you as a part of the family. We want you to know that once you join the family, we don't let you go easily. So once you come a part of our family, you're stuck with us. And so welcome to the family. So if you tune in today by Apple TV, Roku, or Twitch, Facebook, or YouTube, Periscope, the edwasmith.org website, the houseofhopeatl.com website, the House of Hope Atlanta app, however you're viewing, we are honored to have you here with us. You tuned in this morning to what we call a deeper dive. It is my live podcast recording, and some of you were here with us this morning at 8:30 for our get up and exercise. I hope you were inspired by that. I want to thank our exercise and health ministry for doing a wonderful job. 6 days a week, you can get up and exercise with us at 8:30 Monday through Saturday. I appreciate you because we want to do all we can physically. Some of us have some goals that we haven't met this year, and Thanksgiving is 2 weeks away. So let's get the bodies moving so we can have some room to divulge a little bit and then enjoy a little bit Thanksgiving and get back to brass tactics as we close the year out. So those who were with us at 8:30, who exercise with us, blessings to you, and I appreciate you being a part. Listen, we have so many different platforms that sometimes people say, "Well, what can I stream in?" What because it comes on to the Church House of Atlanta Facebook page. It comes on to the edwasmith.org Facebook page. We have the Hope TV Facebook page. We also have House of Atlanta YouTube. We have the Edward Smith, the Dr. Edward Smith YouTube. We have Hope TV. So all these different platforms. People say, "Well, which platform is it?" Well, just in case you're trying to give somebody one place where you can find all things of Hope TV, just lead them to our website. I know we have different formats that you enjoy. We want to have our program available everywhere that you're comfortable, that your favorite spaces. But we have a website. It's called thehopetv.com. And all things Hope TV, you can find it right there on the website. I mean, you can see all the programs that we offer every day. We have 7 or 8 different programs, and we just started this platform back in March. But look how it has expanded. I mean, look at all our shows. Whether you're single, whether you're married, you are, whether you are a female, woman, or man, whether you're a youth, whether you are a senior adult, you can watch us live right there. We have pro TV shows for deal with financial freedom. We have shows that deal with mental health. One for business owners. We have a social action show called Town Hall Politics. One of the top political strategists in the world hosts that. Meredith Lilly. KD Bo hosts a show called Man Up. He's one of the top radio announcers, gospel radio announcers in America. Also, the voice of the Atlanta Falcons. He hosts Man Up. So we just have a vigor of one on coronavirus conversations. So we're excited about it. Just all of our programming that we're offering here. We start this platform back and we'll have something on comedy as well. And those are the places you can see. Look, our team is adding to the site, shows you the different places you can watch. So it's just exciting, man, that you can come and check out everything on Hope TV. And if you want to help us get the message out, then just tell somebody, go to the website, hopetv.com, thehopetv.com. If you want to be a participant on the show, You can let us know there. Just send us an email there. You want to be a contestant on future shows, send the emails there to us as well. If you want to sign up to get our monthly newsletter, sign right there on the website as well. And if you want to send me some funny videos for my Friday Night Live, you know I'm a Jack-led comedian. And so when the pandemic started, I started to do something just to kind of get us to unwind a little bit on Friday nights. It's called Friday Night Live, and it's been a real, real big hit. People, tune in literally every Friday night at 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So just a variety of shows, and I'm thankful to each of you for your support, and want to encourage you to continue to please support what we're trying to do here at the Hope TV. And I appreciate you so very much. So again, everybody who's tuned in, Apple TV, Roku, Twitch, Periscope, YouTube, just however you viewing, Apple TV, Roku, Twitch, Periscope, Amazon, however you viewing. I'm just thankful to you, man. I really, really am. And I hope you guys can tune in tonight. Wow, that's a commercial Friday Night Live. So it's gonna be a lot of laughs. So if you want to tune in tonight, man, I haven't seen that before. So wow. So you can watch us tonight at 11 p.m. Wow, look at y'all got me on with that one. That's a great commercial. I haven't seen that one. So tonight I'll be back on. So 10 this morning, Eastern Standard Time, maybe tonight. If you've never watched Friday Night Live, get your nap by 5 or 6 if you're home. Or you get off of work, get your nap. If you're not working tomorrow, so you can stay in tonight. It's going to be a lot of fun tonight, 11 p.m. All right? So thank you so very much. Listen, we've been talking a deeper dive. I'm here. I'm here on Tuesdays. I do a devotional called Morning Dew. Wednesdays we do Bible study. Thursday I do Morning Dew. Then Friday we do a deeper dive. So 4 days a week. Doing some teaching during the week on here. 4 days a week, really. And some of you are with us most of the time, or a lot of the time. And so, but on Fridays I do something called a deeper dive. It's really systematic theology. One of our goals this year as a church was our theme was God Sight 2020. And the whole aim was so people can have a higher view of God, to know and to see God differently, to see God as Isaiah saw God. Isaiah 6, Isaiah says, in the year the King Uzziah died, I saw the Lord high and lifted up. And so there's a whole lot of having a high theology and having a high Christology. What that means is that you really have a very high view of God, not a diminished view, but to see God high and lifted up. And so to that end, we planned all last year, this year, to do programs and ministries to help us have a high view of God. And I'm excited that Deeper Dive today, in the last couple of weeks, helped us to do that. So we're talking about knowing God. I want to get right into it. Knowing God is our theme for Fridays, and I think I have a couple more weeks for this. But knowing God has been a theme for Deeper Dive. But we're talking about the attributes of God. I want y'all to stay with me. The attributes of God. And what I've really been doing on Fridays for the past couple of weeks is what we would call in seminary systematic theology. Systematic theology. If I was teaching this in a seminary or theological university or Bible college, it would be called systematic theology. So really, I'm taking kind of the same approach I would, or that others would take, other systematic theologians would take in a university. So you're really getting, that same kind of approach. It's just we're unable to do it in a large scale because we only have 1 day a week, and we're just taking our time doing it slowly. But kind of pretty much the same approach. But we've been talking about the attributes of God, and there are two major attributes that we've been talking about. One is called the incommunicable attributes of God, and the other is called the communicable attributes of God. So we've been talking about the communicable versus incommunicable. I want to break those words down. Just two big words, but nothing to be alarmed about. Incommunicable means those that are not shared with us. It means those that are not communicated, those that we don't have in communion, that we don't have in common. So incommunicable, those that are not shared, those that are not we don't hold in common with. For instance, God's eternity, God's unchangeableness. God is eternal, we're temporal. So that's an attribute. Eternity is not an attribute that is ours. That belongs to God. God, the King, eternal. God is eternal. We are temporal. So that's not shared with us. Unchangeableness I want you to put a pin there because I'm coming back to deal with that. Unchangeableness. That's an attribute that belongs to God, but not us. God doesn't change, we do. Here's another one, omnipresence. Omnipresence. God is everywhere. That's all present. God is everywhere. We're limited by space and time, but God is everywhere at the same time. God is omnipresent. Those are incommunicable attributes. Those are not shared. Those are ones we don't have in common. Now there's also called communicable. There are also communicable attributes. These are attributes that are shared with us. For instance, here's one communicable attribute. Here's an attribute that we hold in common with God, an attribute that is communicated with us. 1 John 4 tells us that God is love. Well, we're commanded to love each other. We can have the capacity to love, which means that's an attribute that we share with God. Here's another one, knowledge. We know God is an all-wise God. God knows all things. Well, we are told that, oh, that I might know him. We also can have the capacity to have knowledge. So it's communicable. God is a God of mercy. Jeremiah 3, God says, it is because of the Lord's mercies that we're not consumed. But Jesus says in the Beatitudes, blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy. God is merciful. You and I can have the capacity to be merciful. All right, here's another one. God is a just God. We hear it all the time. He reigns on the just as well as the unjust. Let justice roll down like let justice roll down like waters, and righteousness as a mighty stream. God is a God of justice. Micah 6:8 tells us that we ought to love mercy, do justice, and walk humbly before our God. So all these are communicable attributes. They belong to God, but they can be shared with us. Now, to that end, we may not have it in the same capacity that God has them, but we do have they are shared with us. For instance, God is love. We can love. Now we may never love to the same degree that God loves, but that's just an attribute that we can have. God is a God of knowledge. We can have knowledge. However, we'll never know as much as God. You see, so even though it's communicable, we have the characteristic, the trait, just necessarily not the same totality or not in the same capacity as God, but yet those are shared with us. Now, today I want to talk about something that really goes back to the incommunicable. I want him to put that slide back up about the incommunicable attributes, because I told you I want to make a note of it. Attributes of God, incommunicable, those not shared with us. And one was God's eternity. The second one is God's unchangeableness. Now, I talked about this a couple of weeks ago. I dealt with the unchangeableness in terms of an attribute, but there's an aside to that, or a derivative of that. It's kind of nuanced that I kind of want to parse and delve into some more. We're going to deal with some theology today pertaining to this unchangeableness. I want y'all to strap on your seatbelts. It's not because we're going to push a little bit today and go a little deeper today. But we're talking about unchangeableness. Now, I want to push back on that from a theological and philosophical perspective today. Unchangeableness. I believe it's important for us to have some relevance in terms of what we're sharing. And today, I want to push back. I want to let the philosophers push back on it, because there is a philosophy and a very prevalent teaching that pushes back against unchangeableness. I'm just going to deal with that today, so I like to kind of have fun when I let these philosophers talk and debate. All right, and so today we're going to push back on this unchangeableness from a philosophical perspective and a theological perspective, and it's also kind of metaphysical as well. But we're talking today about what's called process theology. Process theology. And I want y'all to make sure y'all stay with me. Process theology. That's the theme for today. Process theology. Because it really pushes back against the unchangeableness, which is very, very fun to me. Okay. Process theology. So I hope you're ready. And we're going to delve into this. And I want you to stretch your minds a little bit with me, because we're going to go there and just kind of do as much as we can. Now, we could spend people have done whole dissertations on this. So there's no way we're going to do it justice in 30, 40 minutes. but at least I can kind of give you a general synopsis of it, and where you can kind of take it and go and study some more. You can. All kind of literature out on this, and so I'm gonna give you some stuff that I think is fun. So this is, I'm kind of a nerd. I'm a kind of a nerd, and so I enjoy stuff like this. So hope you enjoy our musings today as well. All right. Now let me give you a running definition of process theology. Okay, process theology is a position of theology that says that process and change are essential aspects of genuine existence. Okay, let me break that down. It's the position, it's the theology, it's the doctrine that says, it's the belief, it's the ideology that espouses that process and change are essential aspects of genuine existence. In other words, process theology explicitly states that a part of existence, a part of genuine existence, are process and change. Without change, without process, they suggest there is no existence. So if something isn't changing or processing or evolving in the mind of the process theologian, it doesn't exist. In order for something to have genuine existence, it must be changing, must be in process or in evolution. Okay? So what they believe is since you gotta have change and evolution, since you gotta have change and process, since change and process are prerequisites for genuine existence, and without change and process, there is no existence. The process theologian takes the premise that God must be changing over time, because in order to exist, you got to have process and change, or evolution and change. Since anything that exists, they would say, anything that exists, they say, has to have process and change. Anything that exists, in order for it to have genuine existence, it must be evolving, it must be processed, it must be changing, in order if it really, really exists. So the premise is, if you say God exists and you believe that God has genuine existence, then in order for God to genuinely exist, you got to believe that God is processing, evolving, or changing. Did y'all hear that? Now I gotta deal with that, because they say that God must change, that God must evolve, that God must be in process, because those things are prerequisites or necessary for genuine existence. Now, y'all stay with me, because I know it's hard for me to teach this because I can't see your faces to know if you're getting it, is it making sense? Because I want to be clear, and I hope I'm making clear that we all, and you gotta kind of lock into this to make sure that you hear what I'm saying, because I don't want to confuse anybody. And so I was kind of skeptical about doing this, but I said no. I kind of skimmed over it a couple weeks ago. I said no, we're gonna go there. All right. So we know that for us as human beings, change is a part of our existence. We know for us that change and evolution. We know that as human beings, we're always changing. As human beings, we're always evolving. Who we are at 40, we weren't there in our 20s. How we think at 50, we didn't think that way at 25. Who we were at 16, we're not that way at 46. Right? So we evolve. Change and process are essential elements of existence for us. Come on now. There was a time, I don't care how in shape you are, you're not the same now as you were you in high school, right? Um, I can run, I could jog on a treadmill now, right? But uh, but I can't run like I ran when I was in high school. You know what I mean? I had speed. I still could throw a football, right? But I can't throw like I could throw it then, right? I still can shoot a basketball, but I can't run the court. I ain't gonna try, right? Because change and process and evolution are genuine aspects of existence. Okay? Genuine aspects of existence. Okay? Now, Are y'all ready? Now, now, let me put it all in perspective. Now, here is a challenge with that. We know that change and evolution for us is a part of existence. We don't we none of us have any problems when we talk about change and evolution because we all know that we change. We all know that we're evolving. We all know that we are in process. The issue is when it comes to God, process theologians suggest that God is also changing, that God is also in process or in evolution. And that's where it gets problematic. That's where the problem comes in. And I want to deal with that. That's where the problem comes in that God is changing, that God is changing, that God is evolving. That's what the problem, okay? Now I'm gonna give you a quote by a guy whose name is Charles Hartshorn, and I want to break this down. Charles Hartshorn, all right? Charles Hartshorn says this. He's a process theologian. He says this: God is continually adding to Himself all the experiences that happen anywhere in the universe. That God is continually changing. Wait just a minute. God is continually adding to Himself all the experiences that happen anywhere in the universe. I want y'all to hear what this sounds like, okay? And if you ain't careful, you'll miss it. God is continually adding to Himself. How does God add to Himself? How can a God who's already all add to all? Philosophically, when you add to, it can imply deficit. If you adding to the divine suggests that the divine is missing something prior to the addition. If God is already all, you can't add to all. All doesn't need addition. The only thing you can do with all is subtract from it. So the very idea that people think that God is continually adding to Himself all the experiences that happen in the universe. That means then that the universe adds to God. Does the universe add to God, or does God add to the universe? And therefore, God is continually changing. So, process theologians would suggest that since the universe is changing, the changes in the universe are added to God, and as a consequence, because the universe changes, God changes. It is almost to suggest, well, it's not almost, it is to suggest that the universe has some type of efficacy or some type of control over God. See, when I sing God is my all in all, a God who is my all in all doesn't need addition. I don't when you eat up all the food that's in the refrigerator, you can't add to anything else. Everything in there gone. So when it's all gone, guess what? You can't add to all because ain't no more in there. See, the implication that God adds to Himself suggests that there's something in the being of God that's incomplete. I'm not going to call it insufficient, but it's incomplete. Because if it's complete already, it doesn't need addition. Of God, let me give you this quote: a God A God of completion doesn't need addition. You got me? So it also carries the idea that the stuff that happens in the universe, it almost means that God responds to the universe. It's almost like the universe, that God is keeping up with the universe. I hope y'all with me here. It's a little heavy, but I want y'all to stay with me. I hope that y'all can read further on this. That God is adding to that, the universe adds to God. I don't believe the universe adds to God. I believe God adds to the universe. I don't believe there's anything in the universe that can make God more complete. I don't believe there's anything that happens around us that adds to who God is, right? I just don't believe that. Um, Now let me share with you why. Are y'all with me? Are you stretching your brains a little bit on this? It's called process theology. Now, I hope y'all dig deep on it. I mean, you can find it everywhere. I mean, it's very common. I mean, it's a very common systematic theological thought, and I want to dig a little bit on it today because, and we're gonna put that. Charles Hartshorne says God is continually adding to Himself all the experiences that happen anywhere in the universe. That stuff that happens in the universe, that God adds that to Him. Um, that's what He said, and He's one of the fathers of process theology. You can, y'all lead this. So I want to just dig deeper in this because it's a very relevant school of thought even to this day. Process theology, okay? It's and these are some quotes. I put all this stuff together, okay? But y'all listen. You can go in any book. You can just Google process theology. It comes up. I'm giving you a name. I'm giving you a general synopsis of it. So this comes from. So this is so many different books. I just pulled some of my stuff together. So God is continually adding to Himself all the experiences that happen anywhere in the world. This is from my systematic theology book. Okay, but you can find it anywhere, right? Um, God is continually adding to Himself all the experiences that happen anywhere in the universe. And thus God is continually changing. So here's what they think. And as I told you earlier, because stuff in the universe has to change because it exists, that means that what makes God change is the stuff that happens in the universe. So it almost carries the idea that God needs that we make God change, that action in the universe make God change. I'm gonna push it a little further, okay? And here is really the core of process theology. Here's the core of it, because there's a reason they're saying this. There's a reason they're saying this. Um, they're saying this primarily because process theologians imply. Here's the implication. Go to the next slide. Did I say this? They imply that nothing we do matters to God. They process theologians imply. Here's the implication. They want to show that what we do matters to God. They think that Christianity, they think that a lot of us believe that nothing we do matters. So that's why process theology is important, because they want to show interaction with God and humanity. They want to show some interconnectivity. They don't want God to be so impassible. So process theologians, they want to show a connection between. See, here's another thought I didn't give y'all earlier. I should have thought about this one earlier. There's a school of thought early around Enlightenment and rationalism, 17th, 18th century, called deism. I didn't put this on the slide. I'm sorry. Deism. If y'all taking notes, that's Deism. Deism. This is very important. Um, Many of our founding fathers of America weren't Christians. They were called deists. Deists. Deism. Deism. This 17th, 18th century. And basically with deism, they believe that God is a God, but God is like a watchmaker. That God just began to wind his watch up. Then in creation, God made the watch, set it aside, and God doesn't have anything to do with it. So deism suggests that whatever happens with the world, there is a creator God, but God is not intimately involved in the world. So they say whatever happened with the world now is not because God didn't create it. It's just once God created, God has nothing else to do with it. Many of our forefathers, like Ben Franklin, if you studied them, they weren't Christians. Just study deism with the founding fathers. You just Google deism, the founding fathers. How many of the founding fathers of America were deists? DEISTS, deism. Because what we call Christianity, some of them are deists. Ben Franklin, I think Thomas Jefferson, many others, they weren't Christian. They weren't Christians. They were more deist. They believe in a creator God, but not a God who's active. Process theology really is almost the opposite of deism. While deism says God created and is not involved, process theology says God is so involved that what we do can change him. So process theology in many ways is really the antithesis to deism. Deism says God creates but is not in control of the world. Process theology says that God is creator, but God is so moved by what we do that he has to evolve based upon our evolution. That what we do can change God. So they're trying to really refute. That's really a bad sentence. Uh, process theologians imply. It really should say process theologians imply that what we do matters to God. That's really how that should be said. Can you change that for me? Process theologians imply that what we do matters to God, because they're trying to show that God. They're trying to refute that. They're trying to refute that. I don't know how. I think I typed that wrong. They really try to imply that what we do, it now doesn't matter. It changes it. What deist says, God is not concerned with the world. God ain't concerned with your politics. God ain't concerned with your election. I made it. I wound this watch up, and whatever y'all do is you on your own. Don't call me. Leave me alone. I'm creator, but I'm not involved. I'm this impassible being. And that kind of comes from this Hellenistic Grecan understanding of God, that God is impassible being who's disconnected, that God has no emotions, that God has no feelings. All that kind of comes around with this deism, right? Process theology says not only, it kind of implies it implies that what we do matters to God. Now, let me say, let me refute that. What we do does matter to God, but the problem with process theology is they believe that God is still changing and evolving based upon what we do. That what we do can change God. That our actions make God evolve. That our actions make God change. That's the issue. That's the problem. Now, let me go further, okay? Hope I'm pushing this thing. I told you we're gonna go a little deeper today, okay? So I gave y'all deism, which means God creates like a watchmaker makes a watch when he's done with it. Like you go to Switzerland, get a nice watch. Once that watchmaker makes that watch and he sells it or gives it away, the watchmaker's done with it. You don't have anything else to do with it. That's how deism felt God was. Well, process theology feels that our very actions in the universe make God change. That gives us too much power over God. It almost means that God changes based upon our actions. And that's where it gets interesting. And they're trying to refute process. They're trying to refute deism because they want to show God is connected to humanity. They want to show this interconnectivity. But the problem with, and God is connected to us, but our connection to God doesn't change God. Doesn't make God more complete. No, you can't. Listen. The Almighty doesn't need addition. You can't. Completion doesn't need addition. A God who's all doesn't need us to act or have human effort to make him more. We don't feel deficiency in God. That's no lack in God. Whether we act or not, whether we have movement or actions or not, God is still all. Our movement, our actions don't make God any less God. Our actions don't make him more God. Our lack of action don't make him any less God. God can't be more because he's already God. How do you add to that which was already all before the world began? So since our creation didn't help God become all, then our existence or effort doesn't make him any less God. God is all. Whether we act or have effort or not, God is already all. And God does not need our effort or our actions to make him more. A God who's already all doesn't need more. God can't be more because there's no more you can add to all. Addition, completion doesn't need addition. All right, let me keep going. I hope y'all getting this. Okay, let me keep pressing. I really hate doing this because I can't see your faces to tell you connected with me or not. But I'm gonna push anyway and do the best I can under these circumstances. That's why they want to deal with this because I want to be able to see your faces to make sure that you're with me. So this is kind of heavy. Okay, let me stay on track. So what we do matters to God, right? Yeah. So that's the thing with process theologians. They want to show that God is involved with us, and He is. They want to show that God is responsive to us, and He is. So God is not like deism, where the deist said God just made the world and doesn't. God is not like deism that says God manufactured the world. And y'all make sure y'all look at that word deism. Check it out. Everything I'm giving you, you can Google it, right? That's deism. Y'all see it? Look at that. Look at that. Look at my producer. You just trying to show out today. See deism. Everything I just told you. Did I just tell you? Deism. Look at you. Just cut. Listen, I'm gonna take you to Crystal today for you going to Crystals. I'm gonna get you a #1 combo from Crystal with the 4 crystals with the onions and some fries and a drink just for because you showing out. Yeah, it's $5.97 at Crystals, right? I ain't had none in a long time. I'm gonna take you to Crystals, producer. But listen to this. Deism. I just gave you that word, and I ain't getting. Thank you. Deism is the existence is belief in the existence of a supreme being, specifically a creator who does not intervene in the universe. The term is used chiefly of an intellectual movement of the 17th, 18th centuries that accepted the existence of a creator on the basis of reason, but rejected belief in a supernatural deity who interacts with humankind. Look at that. Everything I just told you, I just said it a little differently. It's called a watchmaker God. So if you Google deism and the American forefathers, you will see that a lot of our forefathers, we call them Christians, but a lot of them weren't Christians. They were deists. They believe in this creator God because of reason and rationalism, right? But they didn't believe that God is intimately involved, that He's involved in the affairs of the world. They believe in a creator God who created it, but they say because what they're also trying to protect God. They're trying to say there's no way God is God with all these fools running in this world. So God, don't be blaming this on Him because if He was Him, this stuff be gone. So people trying to understand God. So that's deism. Process theology really kind of is the opposite of deism. And of course, that's kind of overgeneralization now, but I'm just trying to give you some variation. So while deism says God creates what is not in control, process theology takes the other end of the spectrum. It says that God is so involved with us that our actions help Him to become more God. Process theology is on the other end of the spectrum than deism. It says that God is so intertwined with us that what we do adds to Him and make Him more complete. That's the problem. That's the problem. They say that since that God's got to be changing because we're changing, and every time we change, there's effort in the atmosphere and environment. It makes God more God, and that's the problem. So both of them wrong. But however, I keep telling you, whenever you talk about God, is going to always make you stretch your mind. Because how do you explain it? People been trying to understand it. So process theology implies what we do matters to God. Now that I should have said it deep. Not only what we do matters to God, but what we do can change God. That's where it gets. See, that's not. I don't have a problem with me writing that sentence. I wrote this. Just gave you that sentence. Process in theology implies that what we do matters to God, but even more significant, they felt that what we do can add to God. Our actions or our effort can change God. That's why I take issue. Now let me break this down for you. I'm gonna push it a little further. I think y'all. I saw a few comments. I think y'all are getting it. Deism, I don't believe in that because they say God ain't in control. That's wrong. God is connected. Process theology says that we can change God with our actions. That's not right either. Now, see, if we were in having Bible study, I would have a debate right now with our ministers. I would have one side to present deism and the other side to present process theology and let them talk, right? Let them talk. But I want y'all to know these things because this is a deeper dive. I want y'all to know and we can grow. Okay, this ain't Sunday school here. This ain't Sunday school. This ain't Vacation Bible School. We push. I want you to push your mind a little bit. Okay, so you got deism on one side, you got process theology on the other side. You got me? Okay. So I want us to make sure we get this. So y'all get this. Y'all ready? Y'all ready to go? Can I keep going? Can I keep pushing it? Now here is the problem with process theology. Here's a problem with process theology. Here's a problem with process theology. I'm gonna push it. Can I take here? Process theology implies that what we do matters to God and can change God. That's the problem. Because they feel like human effort or actions adds to God. No, completion don't need addition. Our actions, our actions don't make God more God. Our lack of action don't make God less God. God don't need addition. All don't need our effort. God all doesn't need the Almighty doesn't need our activity in order to be all. Our deeds don't diminish deity. Huh? Our efforts don't eliminate his eternity. Huh? Our, our limitations don't make him be less God or less Lord. Woo. If our activity made him almighty, then our lack of activity will make him less almighty. If God needed our efforts in order to be God, that really almost implies that we would be God. That we got the same power as God. We can't make him more God. Huh? Now we can do God's work. We can be God's people. We can implement God's kingdom here on earth. We can be the hands and feet of Jesus. We can be the body of Christ. But God don't need us in order to be God. Huh? When God stepped out on nothing and reached back into nowhere and brought something from nothing, we weren't there. When God lit the sun one time and it's never gone out and never been to a repair shop, that had nothing to do with our effort. When God painted the sky blue without a skyscraper or a ladder, it wasn't because of us. When he planted the tulips and the daffodils on the horizon, that wasn't because of our efforts. When he lit the sun once and it's never gone out and made it rise in the east and set in the west, that had nothing to do with our effort. So that's my problem with process theology, because the idea that what we do and our actions can change God, that's wrong. I know you want to show that he's connected with us, and he is, but he's not so connected that we got control over his countenance and his character and his core. The core of God doesn't get addition because of humanity. Our humanity doesn't make him any more holy. Woo, my God. Huh? Our faithfulness does not affect his infallibility. My Lord. Oh God, help me hold it. I'm not supposed to feel this way on deeper dive. Right? Yeah, completion doesn't need addition. Right? Now let me now my goodness, I feel I'm not supposed to feel this on a deeper dive. This is supposed to be more than due, but when I talk about it, because I want you to understand this, man. Yes, man. Oh God, we're talking about God here. We're talking about God. And I want y'all to Google process theology. When we finish, I want y'all to Google this, right? So I want to make sure, listen, I'm thankful that God is, now here's the reality. I disagree totally with deism that says that God just created, but he's not involved. I guess they were trying to help God out by saying, don't blame what's happening on God. He just created it. So I get what they were trying to do, but no, God is, to say that God is not involved with us, that's foolish. How miserable would life be if he just created us but has no interaction? No. Opposite end, process theology, God is involved with us in so much that what we do make him more God. No. I don't want a God that I can complete. How can my incomplete, fallible, filled with frailty and finitude self make him more fatherly? No, God. If my actions make God more complete and make God change, help God grow, God needs my action to grow? Are you kidding me? God needs old feeble me and you to help him grow and become more complete? Are you kidding? Oh, what kind of God would that be who was dependent on our actions and efforts in order to grow? Are you kidding me? I don't want to pray to a God who needs my efforts in order to help him grow. No, forget that. I don't want him to be. I don't want him to be so involved that he changes because of me, because of my efforts. Let me push this down. Now let me explain something to you. I hope this makes it make more sense to you. Okay. Here is what I think both deism and process theology are missing. Here is what I'm gonna give you one simple thing that I hope helps the light come off on. What makes sense. Like so, Pastor Heavy. Here is the thing. Here is the issue that I believe they're missing. Okay. You got to understand the difference between, y'all stay with me here for a minute. I'm gonna let you go in a minute. It's very important. I'm almost done. You got to understand the difference between the essence of God versus the energies of God. Woo! There's a difference between the essence of God and the energies of God. If y'all can get this right here with me, we can. If I can make this make sense, help me, Holy Ghost, help it make sense. Because if you don't get it, then that means I didn't do my job. Because I believe how I was trained is if the student didn't learn, the teacher didn't teach. So I'm hoping that I can do a good job in explaining this. Because I want you to get it. Because I think it'll help make sense of both these opposite teachings. Deism versus process theology. Okay. The essence of God, that refers to who God is. Who he is. Who he is. And let me tell you about who he is. Who he is can't change. God in his essence is unchanging. His character, God's countenance, God's core, God's characteristics, God's nature. You can depend on the nature of God. You can depend on the character of God. You can depend on the core of God. God don't switch up on you. Who God is at God's essence. Woo! God's essence is unchanging. Okay? Yeah, deism. He is a creator. That's unchanging. Huh? Yeah, he's unchanging. Right? Hold to his hand. God's unchanging hand. The essence, the core of God is unchanging. But here's the difference. That's something else besides God's essence. God's essence is unchanging, but God's energies can. The essence is who he is. The energies, how he operates. Y'all get that? Who God is unchanging. what God does and how God chooses to operate? Can. Let me give you an example. God can be the God of Old Testament. Okay? He can walk with Abraham, but get a law to Moses. And the same God can love Abraham just as much as he loved Moses, even though Moses had the law and Abraham didn't. God gives Moses 10 commandments, 2 tables of law. He gave Abraham his presence. He gives Abraham promises. He gives Moses precepts. But the same God who was with Abraham is the same God who's with Moses, and they're the same in essence. But how he operates with Moses is different from how he operates with Abraham. The same God who operated with Abraham in Genesis 12 can operate with Deborah, the honeybee, the judge. That was a woman who was a judge, just in case you didn't know. In the Old Testament, she was a judge. During the time of theocracy, Deborah, the honeybee, she was in charge with a guy named Barak, by the way. But I'm not going to get into that right now because I really get happy. So Deborah had theocracy. She was a judge. Abraham wasn't. Deborah was used in theocracy. Moses wasn't. Abraham had his presence. Moses got precepts. Deborah had a position as a judge. How God operated between Abraham, Moses, and Deborah changed. His energies changed, but his essence remained the same. Are y'all hearing me here? Then God let David become king. He's a monarch. You listen to me here? He was a preeminent king. He's a progenitor. He's in the lineage of Jesus. The promise, Jesus was born in the city of David. Right? David is a king. The way God deals with Abraham is not how he dealt with Moses. It's not how he dealt with Deborah. It's not how he dealt with David. Deborah had theocracy. David had monarchy. How God operated between all 4 of them is totally different. Precepts, presence, promise for Abraham, precepts, law for Moses, position for Deborah, progenitor, promise of the Messiah for David. God operates differently with all 4 of them in energies. God's energies were different between Abraham, Moses, Deborah, and David. How he operated was different, but who he was remained the same. Y'all not gonna help me preach here. Y'all not helping me here. Then when Jesus comes on the scene, hey, I didn't come to eliminate the law, I came to fulfill it. When Jesus comes, no more need for the priest. You got me? The way God dealt with Abraham, the way he deals with Moses, the way he deals with Deborah, the way he deals with David is different from how he deals with Jesus. For Abraham and Moses, you're going to need priests. When Jesus comes, you don't need the priest. Now you got the high priest. For you have not, who cannot be touched with it. We have not a high priest who cannot be touched with the feelings of our infirmities. But in all points, tempted like we are, yet he was without sin. Huh? How he dealt with Moses, Abraham. Abraham, you go on Mount Moriah, you kill the lamb. Offer the lamb, go and offer your son Isaac as a sacrifice. You with me? Go offer your son Isaac as a sacrifice. Because in the Old Testament, God had to have sacrifices. They would take pigeons and ewe lamb and turtle doves offer the sacrifice. In the Old Testament, they needed lambs and rams and pigeons to be killed. Huh? When Jesus comes, you don't need to kill no more lambs. Abraham need to offer a lamb. Jesus comes, I am your lamb. Woo. Behold the Lamb of God, which takes away the sins of the world. For Adam and Eve, it was one lamb per person. Down in Egypt at the Passover, it was one lamb per family. Later on in the Old Testament, it was one lamb per the nation. But when Jesus comes, here's a Lamb of God who takes away the sins of the world. Are you listening to me here? So, but who God was, the same God God was God with Abraham, God was God with Moses, God was God with Deborah, God was God with David, God was God with Jesus. And in the essence of God, and the same God didn't change who he was between Abraham and Jesus. The same way he was with Abraham, the same way he was with Moses, the same way he was with Deborah, the same way he was with David, is the same way he was with Jesus. He's the same in essence. In essence, at his core, who he is unchanging. You can rely on that. You can depend on that. He'll never change who he is. The essence of God will not change, but God's energies will. How God operates. So we do a disservice when we think that God is stuck to one way operate. See, God in himself does not change, but what he does can. That's why you got to open your mind and say, he said, behold, I'll do a new thing. Don't try to limit God to what he does. He's done. Don't try to limit his activity to what he's done. Just because God hasn't done it before doesn't mean he can't do it again. Let me say it this way. Just because God hasn't done it, just because you haven't seen it, doesn't mean God can't do it. God is always doing new. God is always exceeding himself. God is always taking us from glory to glory and faith to faith. What God does can change. Who God uses can change. How God operates can change. But who he is can't change. Oh, God. Help me, Holy Ghost. I don't know who I'm talking to. Let me tell you what God told Elijah. God told Elijah, I'm gonna shut the rain down. This is 1 Kings 17. God says, Elijah, I'm gonna shut the rains down. I'm gonna shut the rains down because King Ahab and Queen Jezebel have lost their everlasting mind. But don't worry about it. Don't worry about it, Elijah. What I'm gonna do, I want you to go to a brook in Cherith. I want you to stay there in Cherith, Elijah. And what I'm gonna do is every morning, every evening, I'm gonna let the ravens come and feed you. I'm gonna let some birds come and bring you some food every morning, every evening. Okay? I'm gonna let a brook be there. So you get the water from the brook. Get the water from the brook, and the birds, the ravens gonna feed you every morning and every evening. Elijah went there, and for 3.5 years, the ravens fed him in the morning and evening. He got water from the brook. When there was no more rain in the land, he's gonna sustain you for 3 years. 3.5 years by this brook in Cherry. But then 3.5 years later, guess what happened to him? Guess what happened to him? The brook dried up. Cherith. The brook dried up. Cherith. The brook of Cherith. Cherith. 1 Kings 17. So he takes Elijah to the brook of Cherith. 3.5 years, the ravens feed him in the morning, in the evening. Then the brook dries up. And then God comes back to Elijah and says, Elijah, now listen. Now I need you to go to Zarephath, because I've commanded a widow woman to feed you there. Now here's what's deep. It was God who took him to the brook in the first place. God told him, go to the brook. God told him, I'm going to feed you by the brook. God told him, I'm going to give you water by the brook. God told him, I'm going to sustain you by the brook. But then God comes back and lets the brook dry up. The same thing used to sustain him, God shuts it down. Now here's the question. Did God change? Was God the same God? Did God change between the brook being having water and the brook evaporating? Did God change? Was God the same God? Did God grow? Did God evolve? Was God in process? No. No. God was the same. God was the same. The core of God, the essence of God was the same. God didn't change. Who he is didn't change. His energies and what he chose to operate through changed. His method changed. His energies changed, not his essence. Just because the brook dried up don't mean God ain't God. Just because you got laid off the job or your company shut down don't mean God changed. Ooh. Just because you had a divorce, just because you had death in your family, doesn't mean that God didn't change. Or God changed. That, oh, God must have changed. I lost my job. God, you promised me this job and now the job gone. Oh, God, did you change? No, God didn't change. He told you I'm the Lord, I changed not. Who he is can't change. Oh, God, you told him, he said he's going to marry me, and now he wanted to leave me. God, did you change? You told me to marry him, and now he want to leave. God, did you change? No, he didn't change. That joker might have changed. The Negro or the Negroette you were with may have changed. Don't blame it on God. Who God is may not change. His essence will not change. But his energies will. How he manifests his energies, how he operates will. So stop limiting God to the same way. The way you knew God operated yesterday, forget it. The way God blessed you last year, forget that. Because every time God did that, don't you make that the only way God can operate. Because then you make God a monument, not a movement. Now you're looking for God to be how God operated. Don't you limit God based upon your finite understanding how he operates. Let me tell you what Ephesians 3:20 says. God is able to do exceeding abundantly above all you can ask and think. If you can think it, God can still exceed it in how he operates. Oh, God, help me here. He says in Malachi 3:6, for I am the Lord and I change not. Who God is, his essence is unchanging. His core is unchanging. His nature is unchanging. His characteristics are unchanging. His attributes are unchanging. His holiness is unchanging. His grace is unchanging. His love, his mercy, his favor, his benevolence are unchanging. Who God is unchanging. His essence. But how he chooses to operate can't change. Don't you ever try to make God stuck in operations based upon what you know. At the moment you do that, you diminish God to your capacity. Whatever you think you've seen God do, don't limit him to that. Because God can do above that. I feel the Holy Ghost. Y'all forgive me here. I don't know why I'm feeling this way on a Friday. This is a deeper dive. This is supposed to be theology. So I came to tell you again, the deism, y'all wrong. I know y'all was smart and y'all believe y'all were intellectuals, but you were wrong. You were too smart for your own britches, mama would say. Deism said God created us, but he's not involved. That's wrong. He is involved. Process theologians say God is so involved that our actions make him grow. That's foolish because you want to show he's connected. And he is connected. But our actions don't help him become more God. Our actions don't add addition. Completion don't need addition. Y'all have mistaken God's energies for his essence. My God, I feel the Holy Ghost. I came to tell you, God's essence is unchanging, who he is. God's energies, what he can do and how he does it, can't change. So whatever you've seen God do, that's his energies, how he operates. Don't you limit God's energies. So here's what we should do. We should depend on his essence, his core being the same. We can depend on who he is, not changing. But don't you ever try to reduce God and how God operates to what you see. The energy, the essence, who he is. The energies, how he operates. The essence is unchanging. The energies can change. Can I tell you something? God's gonna bless you in 21 in ways you ain't never imagined. I feel the Holy Spirit. Thank you, God. God's got some blessings and some provisions and some revelation and some resources coming your way that your eye had not even seen. You think you've seen it all in your 35 years, your 40 years, your 48 years, your 50 years, your 55 years. You think you've seen it all. You think you know everything about how God does it. And what God do say, okay, checkmate, bingo, I got you right where horse. I got uno, I got you right where I want you. Because the moment you think you've seen it all is the moment that you really become more process theology. Yeah. Because you think God needs your actions in order to move. God can move with you or without you. God's essence, who he is, unchanging. God's energies, how he operates, can change. Please know the distinction. I need to trust who he is. I need to be flexible with what he does. I need to be sensible about who he is and be flexible about what he does. That's tweetable. That's Facebookable. That's YouTubeable. That's Periscopeable. That's Apple TVable. That's Roku TVable. That's Twitchable. That's Amazonable. I need to be sensible about his essence. I need to be flexible about his energies. His essence is dependable. His energies are flexible. Did y'all get it? I wish I could see y'all faces because I don't know if I lost y'all or not. But I did my best. And I feel I'm trying to keep from getting excited, but I feel the Lord here. I feel the Lord. So as we go into 2021, depend on his essence. As we go into 2021, be hopeful about his energies. His essence, his energies. Oh, God. His essence, his energies. And just because in his energies you haven't seen it before, don't relegate him to what you've seen before. Because at that moment you become traditional, you become stuck. Don't let what you've seen God do limit what God can. Just because you've never seen it before, your lack of exposure to it is not a reflection on his potential or his possibility. The way he dealt with Abraham is different from how he dealt with Moses. The way he dealt with Moses, different from how he dealt with Deborah. The way he dealt with Deborah, different from how he dealt with David. How he dealt with David is different from how he dealt with Jesus. How he dealt with Jesus is going to be different than how he deals with you. God got some stuff in your life that's coming that I had not seen, ear heard, neither has it entered the hearts of men, the good thing that God has in store for you. So do me a favor, take the limits off God. Depend, you can be dependable upon his essence. Be flexible with his energies. His essence, who he is. His energies, how he operates. To that I sing, time is filled with swift transitions. Not of earth unmoved can stand. Eddie Toops, build your hopes on things eternal and hold to God's unchanging hand. Hold to his hand. God's unchanging hand. Hold to his hand. God's unchanging hand. Build your hopes on things eternal and hold to God's unchanging hand. His essence, who he is, his energies, how he operates, and what he does. I came to tell you, you can depend on God. Sorry for holding y'all so long. I'm out of my time, but thank you for yours. As always, remember this: if you will be good to God, then God will be good to you. You've been watching A Deeper Dive. Until next time, peace out.